TheJbeans.net.
We sailed on the Norwegian Getaway for 7 nights in June 2025. If you follow these 14 tips, you'll likely enjoy sailing on her as much as we did. Just a quick note that if you enjoy this video, please give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. It really helps our channel. And consider subscribing so you get alerted when we add new videos. Our first tip is to be aware that not all elevators on the Getaway go to all of the decks. In the forward elevator area, the 4 elevators closest to the front of the ship went as high as deck 16, while the 4 slightly farther back only went as high as deck 15. In the aft elevator area, the elevators were split between the port and starboard sides. One side went as high as deck 16, while the other side only went as high as deck 15. Our next tip is to pay attention to the fish on the carpet in the Getaway's stateroom hallways. The design had all the fish swimming toward the forward part of the ship. Checking the direction of the fish was a quick and easy way to tell which way was forward and which way was aft. Our third tip is to make use of the ample signage located throughout the Getaway. The ship had many signs available near elevators, in public areas, in stateroom hallways, and even outdoors. The signs included deck plans with "You Are Here" markers, directional arrows for venues and restrooms, and overhead restroom signs that were easy to spot from a distance. Having so much signage made it very easy to navigate the ship and find what we were looking for. Our next tip is actually 3 quick tips about the Garden Cafe buffet on deck 15 aft. First, we found 2 crepe stations that were set up on the opposite side of the dinner buffet from where the main service was located. Since the rest of that side was closed during dinner, the stations were easy to overlook. However, they quickly became a nightly stop for our Jelly Bean, who is a bit of a crepe fanatic. Second, we consistently found more open seating in the aft section of the buffet compared to other areas, so we usually headed to that area to easily find a table. Finally, the food signage in the buffet included helpful indicators such as vegetarian, vegan, contains nuts, and spicy. Speaking of dietary restrictions, it's worth noting that there was a dedicated gluten-free station available for each meal. Our 5th tip is to check out the American Diner for a quick breakfast on the Getaway. During our cruise, the restaurant on deck 16 aft offered a smaller version of the Garden Cafe buffet, including an omelet station and drink stations. We found the venue to be consistently less crowded than the main buffet one deck below, likely because many passengers didn't realize it was open for breakfast. Our next tip is to be aware of a few quirks with the daily activities on the Getaway. During our cruise, we found that the activity listings on the stateroom TV were not always accurate. That caused us to rely on the paper daily schedule and the app instead. Both of those worked much better, but they had their own quirk. The activities were grouped by category instead of being listed strictly by time, which made it harder to quickly see everything happening at once. After we picked the activities we were interested in, we made sure to note the ones happening in the atrium. The venue didn't have a lot of available seating, and it typically filled up 10 to 15 minutes before the activity start time. Speaking of activities, our 7th tip is to plan on visiting the sports complex early in your cruise. During our cruise on the Getaway, the ropes course and other activities on decks 17 and 18 aft were frequently closed due to weather, especially high winds. So try to do those activities sooner rather than later to avoid missing out because of closures. Our next tip is to check out the unique puzzle-solving challenges held in the Illusionarium. During our cruise, 2 different challenges were offered in the venue, which was located on Deck 6 Forward. One was a superhero-themed escape game, where passengers worked together in small groups to solve a series of smaller puzzles within a set time to unlock a bigger solution. The other was a murder mystery game, which played like a mix of Clue and an escape room, where small groups solved various puzzles under a time limit to reveal clues about who did what. Both activities were offered twice during our 7-day cruise. Our 9th tip is to plan ahead for dinner in the Getaway's main dining rooms. During our cruise, the dinner menu was posted daily outside the Manhattan Room on Deck 7 Aft. Since Savor, Taste, and the Manhattan Room all shared the same menu, checking it during the day made it easy for us to decide if we wanted to eat there or make other plans. On the evenings we chose to dine in those venues, we noticed that wait times grew longer as the night went on. So arriving close to the opening time was the best way to avoid a long wait for dinner. Speaking of dinner on the Getaway, our next tip is to be aware that reservations for Cagney's Steakhouse, La Cucina, and other specialty restaurants might not be available in the app. During our cruise, we had to go to the Headliners Comedy Club on Embarkation Day to make our reservations. After Embarkation Day, reservations could be made at the restaurant reservations desk located at Guest Services. Our 11th tip is to be aware of the seating options that are available in the Getaway Theater on Decks 6 and 7 Forward. The venue mostly featured individual cushioned chairs with shared armrests and drink holders. Several rows near the back of the theater were reserved for passengers with mobility needs, and 3 rows on the port side near the front of the theater were set aside for Haven passengers. There were also a few high-top chairs at the very back of the theater, along with some open spaces for wheelchairs. Our last 3 tips are all about some small details that can make a big difference at the beginning and end of your cruise aboard the Getaway. Our 12th tip is to head to the casino if you want to drop off any luggage you carried onto the ship. During our cruise, the casino on Deck 7 midship offered a convenient luggage drop-off for passengers before staterooms were available later in the afternoon. Our next tip is to consider having your Embarkation Day Lunch at Ocean's Bar and Grill or the Savor and Taste main dining rooms instead of the buffet. During our cruise, all 3 venues were open for Embarkation Day Lunch and were much less crowded than the buffet. For more details on everything that's available, check our Embarkation Day Lunch Options video for the Getaway, which we've linked in the description below. Our 14th and final tip is to take advantage of a couple of helpful options for Disembarkation Day. During our cruise, the self-service displays located throughout the Getaway showed a message when disembarkation luggage tags became available near guest services. Noticing that information allowed us to pick a disembarkation time we preferred. We also enjoyed having breakfast in the Taste main dining room on disembarkation morning. It was a much more relaxing way to enjoy breakfast before leaving the ship, instead of dealing with the crowds in the buffet.